The spaceship moved slowly through the dark space between stars. Captain Veltar looked at the blue planet on his screen and felt bored. This was his 100th world to visit this year. Most planets had nothing interesting on them. Some had simple life like plants or small animals. Very few had thinking creatures. "Captain, we are close to the target planet," said his officer. "Our computers say it has intelligent life, but they are very young." "Maybe 10,000 years old?" Veltar nodded. 10,000 years was nothing. His own people, the Nexari, had been traveling space for over 2 million years. The Galactic Council had members who were even older. This blue world would probably have creatures who had just learned to make fire. "Take us down to make contact," he ordered. "Follow the normal rules for young species." The ship entered the planet's air. Veltar expected to see simple villages or maybe small cities. Instead, he saw something that made him stop and stare. Huge cities covered the land. Lights moved in perfect lines across the ground. Flying machines filled the sky. "Sir, they are trying to talk to us," his communication officer said. "But this is strange. They are using quantum wave communication. Young species should not know how to do this." Veltar felt confused. The quantum wave system was very advanced. His own people had only learned it 500,000 years ago. "How could a young species know this?" "Put them through," he said. A voice came through the speakers. It spoke in perfect galactic common language. "Welcome to Earth. This is the Global Defense Initiative. Please state your purpose for visiting our planet." Veltar almost fell from his chair. They spoke galactic common? That language took most species 50,000 years to learn. And they had a defense system that could detect his ship? His ship used the best hiding technology in the galaxy. "This is Captain Veltar of the Galactic Council Exploration Ship Wisdom's Edge. We come in peace to study your world and maybe invite you to join the galactic community." "We understand, Captain Veltar. You may land at these coordinates. Our people are ready to meet with you." Numbers appeared on Veltar's screen. The landing spot was perfectly calculated for his ship's size and weight. Someone on this planet knew exactly what kind of ship he flew. The ship landed in a wide area surrounded by tall buildings made of glass and metal. Hundreds of the planet's people waited for them. They looked almost exactly like several species in the galactic community, but with small differences. Their skin was different colors, some light, some dark, some in between. Veltar and his team left the ship. A group of the planet people walked toward them. The one in front was a man who looked calm and confident. "I am Taimin Park, Director of the Global Defense Initiative," the man said. "We welcome you to Earth." "Thank you," Veltar replied. "I must say your technology is very impressive for such a young world." Taimin smiled. "Young? What makes you think we are young?" "Our records show intelligent life on your planet started only 10,000 years ago," Veltar explained. "This is very recent by galactic standards. Something strange happened then." Several of the humans looked at each other and smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile people made when they knew something funny that others did not. "Captain, we would like you to meet some of our experts," Taimin said. "This is Hyun-Woo Kim. He studies the history of intelligent life on different worlds. And this is Bora Lee. She studies how different species learn to talk to each other." Hyun-Woo was a man with kind eyes but a serious face. Bora was a woman who seemed to notice everything around her. Both looked at Veltar's team with great interest. "We are very excited to learn about your people," Hyun-Woo said. "Tell us, how long have your people been traveling between stars?" "The Nexari have had space travel for 2.7 million years," Veltar said proudly. "We are one of the older races in the galaxy." "How interesting," Bora said. She spoke in a way that made Veltar think she was studying every word he said. "And your language, Galactic Common, how old is it?" "It was created about 1 million years ago when the first great species came together to form the early Galactic Council." Bora turned to Hyun-Woo and said something in their own language. Veltar's computer translated it, but the translation seemed wrong. She had said something about the root words and older than they know. "I am sorry," Veltar said. "My computer's translation seems to be having problems." "What did you just say?" "Oh, nothing important," Bora said quickly. "Just commenting on how beautiful your language sounds." But Veltar noticed that Hyun-Woo was now looking at him in a very strange way, like he was looking at a child who had just said something cute but wrong. "Captain," Taimin said, "would you and your team like to see some of our world? We have prepared a tour that might interest you." "That would be excellent," Veltar replied. As they walked toward the tall buildings, Veltar noticed more strange things. The humans moved in a way that seemed familiar, but he could not remember why. Their city was built using patterns that reminded him of ancient Nexari architecture, but that was impossible. The Nexari had never been to this world before. "Tell me," Hyunwoo said as they walked, "what do your people know about the very early history of the galaxy, before the Galactic Council formed?" "Not much," Veltar admitted. "Those times are lost to us. We know there were some very ancient races, but they disappeared long ago." "Why do you ask?" "Just curious," Hyunwoo said. But again he had that strange look in his eyes. They entered one of the tall buildings. Inside, Veltar saw things that made his mind feel confused. The humans had energy systems that his own people were still trying to develop. They had computers that seemed to think for themselves. They had materials that his science team said should not exist. "How did you develop all this so quickly?" he asked. "We have had help," Taemin said simply. "Help from who?" "From ourselves," Bora said. Then she said something else in the human language. This time, Veltar's computer translated it perfectly. The children never recognized their parents' voices. Veltar felt a chill run through his body. Something was very wrong here. These humans were supposed to be young and simple. Instead, they seemed to know things they should not know. They had technology they should not have. And they kept looking at him like they were keeping a very big secret. "I think," Veltar said slowly, "we need to call for the Galactic Archaeological Team. There is more to your world than we first thought." Hyunwoo and Bora looked at each other again. This time their smiles were wider. "We were hoping you would say that," Hyunwoo said. "We have so much to show you." 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council's biggest archaeological ship arrived at Earth. The ship was so large it could hold a small city inside it. Captain Veltar watched from his own ship as the massive vessel moved into orbit around the blue planet. "The Council is taking this very seriously," his officer said. "They sent their best team." Veltar nodded. His report about Earth had caused great excitement back at Council headquarters. A young species with advanced technology was very unusual. The Council wanted to know how it happened. The archaeological team leader was Kethera, a tall, thin being from the Trilaxian species. She had studied dead worlds for over 300,000 years. With her came Nomdus, a Vorthon who could tell the age of anything just by looking at it. They were the best in the galaxy. "Captain Veltar," Kethara said over the communication system, "your report was very interesting. We are here to solve this mystery." "I am glad you came," Veltar replied. "These humans are not what they seem." The archaeological team landed on Earth at the same place where Veltar had first met the humans. Taemin Park was there waiting for them, along with Hyunwoo Kim and Bora Lee. But this time they had brought someone new. "This is Woo Jin Choi," Taemin said. "He is the keeper of our deep archives." Woo Jin was an older man with gray hair and eyes that seemed to know many secrets. He bowed politely to the alien visitors. "I understand you want to study our history," Woo Jin said. "I can show you places that might interest you." Kithara looked at her equipment. "We want to understand how your species developed so quickly. Our dating shows your civilization is very young, but your technology is very advanced." "Perhaps," Woo Jin said with a small smile. "Your dating methods are not as accurate as you think." Namdas stepped forward. He was proud of his abilities. "I have never been wrong about the age of anything. I can tell you exactly when any object was made." "Then you will find our archives very interesting," Woo Jin said. They traveled in human flying vehicles to a place far from the city. Here the land was empty except for a small building that seemed very old. But when they went inside, Veltar saw that the building was much bigger than it looked. It went deep underground. "The deep archives have many levels," Woo Jin explained as they rode a moving platform down into the earth. "Each level is older than the one above it." "How many levels are there?" Kethara asked. "We have found 47 so far, but we think there might be more." They stopped at the first level underground. It looked like what Veltar expected from a young civilization. Simple tools, basic art, records carved in stone. Namdas pointed his dating device at the walls. "This level is about 12,000 years old," he said. "This matches our records about when your people became intelligent." "Yes," Woo Jin said. "This is when we started keeping records again." "Again?" Kethara asked. "Let us go deeper," Woo Jin said instead of answering. The second level was different. The tools were better. The art was more complex. The records were written on metal instead of stone. Namdas checked his device again. This shows 25,000 years, he said, frowning. But that is impossible. Your species did not exist 25,000 years ago. Perhaps your information is wrong, Hyun-woo suggested quietly. They went to the third level. Here, Veltar saw things that made him feel confused. The technology was better than what his own people had been using 50,000 years ago. Crystal storage devices lined the walls. Complex machines sat silent in the corners. Namdas pointed his device at a crystal storage unit. The device made strange noises. Then it made a sound that meant it was broken. Something is wrong with my equipment, Namdas said. It says this crystal is over 100,000 years old. That cannot be right. Why not? Bora asked. Because nothing intelligent existed in this galaxy 100,000 years ago except the council races, and we had never been to this planet. Wu Jin looked at the crystal with interest. Would you like to see what is stored in it? Before anyone could answer, Wu Jin touched the crystal. Light filled the room. In the air above them, a perfect image appeared. It was a map of the galaxy, but not as it looked now. Stars were in different places. Some planets that Veltar knew existed were not shown. Some planets that were shown did not exist anymore. This is a star map from 100,000 years ago, Wu Jin said calmly. We used it to navigate between worlds. Impossible, Cathara whispered. How could you know what the galaxy looked like 100,000 years ago? The same way you know what it looks like now, Hyun-woo said. We were there. They continued going deeper. Each level was older and more advanced than the last. By the 10th level, Namdas's equipment had completely stopped working. By the 20th level, even Cathara was frightened. This cannot be real, she kept saying. Young species do not have technology like this. The things they saw got stranger and stranger. Machines that could change matter from one thing to another. Computers that seemed to think and feel. Weapons that could destroy stars. Art that moved and told stories by itself. How deep does this go? Veltar asked. We are at level 30 now, Wu Jin said. We have 17 more levels that we know about. At level 40, they found something that made everyone stop and stare. It was a huge room filled with tanks of liquid. In each tank floated what looked like a person, but not quite human. Some looked like Nexari. Some looked like Trilaxians. Some looked like Vortons. What is this place? Cathara asked in a scared voice. This is where we learned to make different kinds of people, Wu Jin said. We wanted to try living in different forms. You mean you created other species? Not created, Hyun-woo corrected. We became other species. We wanted to experience life in different ways. At level 47, the deepest level they had found, there was one huge room. In the center of the room was a perfect model of the entire galaxy. Every star, every planet, every moon was shown in exact detail. But this was not just any model of the galaxy. This was the galaxy as it looked right now at this very moment. Around the edge of the room were labels written in a language that was very old, but somehow familiar. The labels showed the locations of every major world in the Galactic Council. Nexari Prime, Trilaxia, Vorton Central, dozens of other worlds. How do you know where all our worlds are? Veltar asked. His voice was shaking. We know, Wu Jin said simply. Because we put you there. Cathara walked around the room, reading the labels. Her equipment was completely useless here. Everything was too old for it to measure, but she could see that the writing was older than any language she knew. These words, she said slowly. Some of them look like they come from ancient Trilaxian, but Trilaxian is one of the oldest languages in the galaxy. All languages come from somewhere, Bora said. Yours came from here. Namdas sat down on the floor. His mind could not accept what he was seeing. If this is real, he said, then everything we know about galactic history is wrong. Not wrong, Hyun-woo said kindly. Just incomplete, but how is this possible? Veltar asked. How can humans be older than the council races? Wu Jin walked to the galaxy model and touched one small star near the edge. A blue planet appeared in the air above it. Earth. This planet is not our first home, he said. It is our newest home. We built it to look like the place where we started very long ago. Built it? Cathara repeated. Every mountain, every ocean, every continent. We made it all to remember our real home, which was destroyed long ago. The room was very quiet. The alien visitors looked at the model galaxy and tried to understand what they were learning. If the humans were telling the truth, then everything they knew about who was old and who was young in the galaxy was backwards. How long? Veltar asked very quietly. Have humans existed? Wujin looked at him with sad, kind eyes. Long enough to watch your species grow up, he said. Long enough to be proud of how far you have come. Kethara could not sleep. For 3 days she had been trying to make sense of what she saw in the deep archives. Her equipment said it was impossible. Her training said it was impossible. But she had seen it with her own eyes. She sat in her ship's laboratory staring at readings that made no sense. Every piece of rock, every metal fragment, every crystal she had taken from the archives showed the same impossible age. Millions of years old. Some pieces were older than her own civilization. This cannot be real, she said to herself for the 100th time. A soft sound made her look up. One of the humans stood in the doorway of her laboratory. It was an old woman she had not seen before. The woman had white hair and eyes that seemed very old and wise. "May I come in?" the woman asked politely. Kethara nodded. She was too tired to be afraid anymore. "I am Dayun Song," the woman said. "I am what my people call a memory keeper." "What does that mean?" "I remember the old stories. The true stories that most of my people have forgotten." Dayun sat down across from Kethara. Despite her age, she moved like someone much younger. "You are confused by what you saw in the archives," Dayun said. It was not a question. "Yes. My equipment says those artifacts are millions of years old, but that would mean humans are older than any race in the Galactic Council. That is impossible." "Why is it impossible?" "Because we know the history of the galaxy. We have records going back almost 3 million years. Humans were not there," Dayun smiled. "Would you like to hear a story?" "I am a scientist, not a child. The best scientists listen to all possibilities," Dayun said. "Even stories." Kethara was too curious to say no. "Tell me your story." "Long ago, before your people learned to make fire, before any of the council races existed, there was only one intelligent species in this galaxy. They called themselves many names, but the name that lasted was human. That is just a creation myth, is it? Listen to the rest." Dayun's voice became deeper, like she was remembering something very important. "These first humans spread across the galaxy. They built great cities on 1,000,000 worlds. They learned to travel not just between stars, but between dimensions. They became so advanced that they were like gods." Kethara wanted to interrupt, but something about the old woman's voice made her listen. "But the first humans discovered something terrible. Every few million years, something happens to the galaxy. All intelligent life disappears. Everything is reset. New species evolve and grow and learn, but they never remember what came before. What causes this reset? They never found out. But they learned how to predict when it would happen, and they realized the next reset was coming." Dayun stood up and walked to Kethara's window. Outside, Earth's moon hung in the dark sky. The first humans had a choice. They could try to fight the reset and probably lose everything, or they could try something that had never been done before. What did they do? They chose to forget. Kethara felt cold. "What do you mean?" "They built hiding places throughout the galaxy, places like Earth. They changed their own bodies to be simpler, weaker. They made themselves forget most of what they knew. And then they scattered. That makes no sense. Why would an advanced species make itself primitive?" Dayun turned back to her. "Because primitive species survive resets. Advanced species do not. The reset targets civilizations that become too powerful." "You are saying that humans deliberately became less intelligent?" "Not less intelligent, just less advanced. They kept their ability to learn and grow, but they hid their memories and their technology." Kethara thought about this. What about the other council species? Where did they come from? The first humans did not just scatter randomly. They went to different worlds and changed themselves to fit those worlds. Over millions of years, they became different species. The room was very quiet. Kethara felt like the universe was spinning around her. "You are saying that all the council races are descended from ancient humans? Look at your own people," Dayun said. "Look at how similar you are to humans. Look at how your basic biology works the same way. Look at how your languages have similar patterns." Kethara tried to think of differences between her people and humans. There were many physical differences, but the basic way their bodies worked was very similar. Their brains worked in similar ways. Even their emotions were similar. "This is impossible to prove," Kethara said. "Is it?" Dayun walked back to the table. "Tell me, what do you know about your people's earliest history?" "The Trilaxians evolved on our homeworld over millions of years. We have fossil records. Do you? Or do you have records that start at a certain point and go backward only so far?" Kethera thought about this. It was true that Trilaxian history had gaps. The earliest periods were unclear. Scientists assumed this was because records were lost over time. And what about your creation myths? Dayun asked. What stories do your people tell about how they began? Kethara felt another chill. Ancient Trilaxian myths spoke of the first ones who came from the stars and taught the early Trilaxians how to live. But these were just stories, weren't they? The myths say the first ones looked like us but were different. They taught us language and art and science. Then they went away and told us to grow and learn on our own. And what did these first ones look like? Kethara tried to remember the old descriptions. They were tall like us, but their skin was different colors. They had 4 limbs like us, but their faces were more like human faces. The realization hit her like a physical blow. The ancient descriptions of the first ones sounded exactly like humans. No, she whispered. This cannot be true. There is someone else you should meet, Daun said. A few minutes later, another human entered the laboratory. This one was a young man who carried strange equipment. This is Chan Ho Yu, Daun said. He studies quantum archaeology. What is quantum archaeology? Kethara asked. We can read the quantum echoes left by past events, Chan Ho explained. Every action leaves traces that can be detected if you know how to look. Chan Ho set up his equipment and pointed it at Earth's moon, which was visible through the window. Watch this, he said. The equipment hummed softly. Then images appeared in the air above it. Kethara saw the moon as it looked now. Then the images began to change, showing the moon as it looked in the past. She saw the moon 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago. The moon looked the same. Then Chan Ho went back 1,000,000 years. Suddenly, the moon was not there. Instead, there was empty space. Where is the moon? Kethara asked. It had not been built yet, Chan Ho said. Built? The images moved forward in time. Kethara watched as massive ships appeared in space around Earth. The ships used energy beams to carve pieces from asteroids. Slowly, carefully, they assembled these pieces into a sphere. They were building the moon. The moon is artificial? Kethara whispered. Yes. It was built to give Earth the right tides and seasons to support life. The builders wanted Earth to be perfect, and who were the builders? Chan Ho looked at her seriously. The quantum echoes show they were human, but not current humans. They were taller, stronger, and they used technology we can barely understand. Kethara stared at the images of humans building the moon. The technology they used was far beyond anything the current Galactic Council could do. How long ago was this? About 4,000,000 years ago. Kethara felt dizzy. 4,000,000 years ago was before any of the Council races had developed space travel. It was before most Council races had even developed intelligence. If this is true, she said slowly, then humans are not just older than us. They are older than our entire understanding of galactic history. Yes, Dayan said. And now you are beginning to understand why we have been so interested in meeting you. What do you mean? The reset is coming again, Dayan said quietly. And this time, we want to be ready for it. Outside the window, the artificial moon shone down on Earth, a monument to a civilization so old that it had become myth. And Kethara realized that everything she thought she knew about the universe was wrong. The Galactic Council emergency meeting was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from every major species crowded into the great assembly hall on the neutral world of Consensus Prime. The air buzzed with worried voices speaking in dozens of languages. Captain Veltar sat with the other witnesses who had been to Earth. Kethara was there, looking tired and confused. Namdas kept checking his dating equipment over and over as if he could make it give different answers. Order, order, called the council speaker, an ancient being whose species was so old that most had forgotten their original name. We are here to discuss the disturbing reports from the planet called Earth. High Chancellor Mordek of the Nexari Empire stood up. He was one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, ruler of 1,000 worlds. But today he looked worried. Council Speaker, these reports are impossible to believe. The humans claim to be older than our entire civilization. They claim to have created us. This is clearly some kind of trick. What kind of trick could create technology that our best scientists cannot understand? Asked Veltar. What kind of trick could create artifacts that are millions of years old? Lies and illusions, Mordek replied. No species could be that ancient and remain hidden. But they were not hidden, Cathara said, standing up. They were forgotten. By choice, the great hall became quiet. Cathara's voice carried to every corner of the massive room. I have spent 3 days testing everything I saw on Earth. Every artifact, every piece of technology, every grain of dust from their archives. It is all real. The humans are telling the truth. Angry voices rose from the assembly. Many council members refused to believe it. But others looked thoughtful and worried. Even if this is true, said Chancellor Zixara of the Vorthan Collective, what does it mean for us? Why should we care about ancient history? Before anyone could answer, a new voice spoke from the back of the hall. Because the ancient history is about to repeat itself. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. A small group of humans had entered the assembly hall. Leading them was a woman Veltar had not seen before. She was tall and calm, with eyes that seemed to see everything. I am Jihayanam, the woman said. I am what my people call a quantum historian. I study the patterns of time itself. How did you get here? The council speaker demanded. This is a closed session. We have been watching this meeting, Jihai said simply. We needed to know if you were ready to hear the truth. What truth? Mordic asked angrily. Jihai walked to the center of the hall. As she moved, the air around her began to glow softly. Images appeared above her head like a holographic display, but more real. The truth about the Great Cycle, she said. The images showed the galaxy as it looked millions of years ago. Veltar saw stars in different places, planets that no longer existed, space that was filled with the signs of advanced civilization. Long ago, humanity was spread across the entire galaxy. We had transcended physical limitations. We existed as pure consciousness, able to travel instantly between stars to create matter from thought, to reshape reality itself. The images changed, showing vast cities that floated in space, structures that were larger than planets, beings of light moving between the stars. But we discovered something that terrified us. Every 4.7 million years, something resets all intelligent life in the galaxy. All advanced civilizations disappear. All technology is destroyed. Life starts over from the beginning. What causes this reset? Asked the council speaker. We never found out. But we learned to predict when it would happen. And we realized the next reset was approaching. The images now showed the ancient humans gathering in great councils, their faces filled with fear and determination. We had 3 choices. We could try to fight the reset and risk complete extinction. We could try to escape to another galaxy, abandoning our home forever, or we could try something that had never been attempted before. What did you choose? Cathara asked. We chose survival through sacrifice. We chose to forget. The images changed again. Now they showed the ancient humans working frantically on vast projects. Some were building planets like Earth. Others were changing their own bodies, making themselves smaller, weaker, more limited. We created hiding places throughout the galaxy, worlds where we could preserve our history and our knowledge. But we also did something more drastic. We divided ourselves. What do you mean? Asked Veltar. We took pieces of our consciousness and scattered them across the galaxy. We planted them in different worlds, in different environments. Over millions of years, these fragments evolved into new species. The hall erupted in shocked voices. Jihai waited for quiet before continuing. Every intelligent species in this galaxy carries part of ancient human consciousness. You are not separate from us. You are us. Scattered and evolved and grown into something new. Namdas stood up, his voice shaking. You are saying we are all descended from humans? Not descended. You are humans. Changed by time and environment and evolution, but still carrying the core of what we were. Another human stepped forward. This one was an older man with kind eyes. I am Xiangho Kang, he said. I direct the restoration project. For the last 10,000 years, we have been watching all of you grow and develop. We have been so proud of what you have become. You have been watching us? Mordek demanded. Of course. You are our children. Scattered and changed, but still our children. We have guided you when you needed help, protected you from dangers you did not see, celebrated your achievements. This is impossible, Chancellor Zixara said. We have our own history, our own evolution, our own culture. Yes, you do, Xiangho agreed. And it is beautiful. Each species has grown in ways we never expected. You have become more than we ever were when we were united. Jihai spoke again. But now the cycle is approaching its end. The signs are all there. Multiple species have achieved space travel at the same time. Galactic communication has been established. Technology is advancing rapidly across all civilizations. What does that mean? Asked the council speaker. It means the reset is coming. Within the next 1,000 years, something will happen that will destroy all advanced life in the galaxy, unless we stop it. The Great Hall was completely silent. Every being there was trying to understand what this meant for their people, their worlds, their futures. How do we stop it? Cathara asked. By working together, Jihai said. By combining what each species has learned and remembered. By becoming united again, but in a new way. Seung-ho gestured to the assembled council members. Each of your species has developed different strengths. The Nexari have mastered energy manipulation. The Trilaxians understand matter at the quantum level. The Vorthans can sense time itself. Dozens of other species have their own gifts. Separately, none of us can resist the reset. But together, combining all our knowledge and abilities, we might have a chance. A chance to do what? Asked Veltar. A chance to break the cycle forever, Jihi said. A chance to find out what has been destroying advanced life in our galaxy for millions of years. A chance to stop it. The council speaker looked around the Great Hall. Every representative was staring at the humans, trying to process what they had learned. If what you say is true, the speaker said slowly, then our entire understanding of galactic history is wrong. Our cultures, our identities, everything we thought we knew about ourselves. Not wrong, Seung-ho said gently, just incomplete. You are still who you have always been. You have just learned that you are also part of something larger. What do you need from us? Asked a voice from the back of the hall. We need you to remember, Jihai said. Deep in your genetic memory, each species carries fragments of ancient knowledge. We need to help you access those memories, and then we need to work together to prepare for what is coming. Mordek stood up again. His voice was no longer angry, just tired. And if we refuse? If we choose not to believe this story? Jihai looked at him with sad eyes. Then in a few hundred years, your civilizations will end. Your species will become extinct, and new intelligent life will eventually evolve to take your place, never knowing that you existed. But if we work together, then maybe for the first time in galactic history, the cycle will be broken. Maybe our children will have a future that lasts forever. The Great Hall remained silent for a long time. Finally, the council speaker spoke. We will need time to consider this, and we will need proof. We understand, Seung-ho said. We have waited millions of years. We can wait a little longer. As the humans prepared to leave, Veltar called out to them. Why now? Why reveal yourselves now? Jihai turned back to him. Because it is time, she said simply. The cycle is ending, and our children are finally ready to come home. 6 months had passed since the great revelation at the Galactic Council. The galaxy was no longer the same place it had been before. Some species had accepted the truth about their origins. Others had refused to believe it. Many were still trying to decide what to think. Captain Veltar stood on the observation deck of his ship, watching Earth grow larger as they approached. This was his 5th trip to the planet, but he still felt amazed every time he saw it. Knowing that it had been built, not formed naturally, made it seem even more beautiful. Captain, his communication officer called. The humans are requesting permission to come aboard. Of course, Veltar replied. Send them to meeting room 1. A few minutes later, Veltar entered the meeting room to find 3 humans waiting for him. He recognized In-ho Seo, who had become Earth's main representative to the galaxy. With him were 2 people Veltar had not met before. Captain Veltar, In-ho said with a smile. Thank you for agreeing to see us. I would like you to meet Sujin-oh and Mira Jung. Sujin was a woman with practical clothes and hands that looked like they built things. Mira was younger, with eyes that seemed to notice everything about the people around her. Sujin leads our ARC projects, In-ho explained. Mira studies consciousness and memory. ARC projects? Veltar asked. We have been building preservation systems throughout the galaxy for millions of years, Sujin said. Earth was just one of them. Every major species has several ARC worlds, though most of your people do not know about them yet. You mean there are other planets like Earth? Not exactly like Earth. Each ARC world was designed for the species that would eventually live there. Your homeworld Nexari Prime is actually one of our oldest ARC projects. Veltar felt dizzy. Nexari Prime is artificial? Not completely. We found a planet that was almost perfect for your species and made small changes to help it along. The purple crystal formations that your people love so much, we grew those. They contain stored information from ancient human civilization. Why are you telling me this now? Mira spoke for the first time. Because it is time for the next phase. Some of your people are ready to remember. Remember what? Who you really are. Where you came from. What you were meant to become. Inho gestured toward the window where Earth filled the view. The Galactic Council has split into 3 groups. About 1/3 of the species have accepted our story and want to work with us. 1/3 refuse to believe us and want nothing to do with humans. The final third are waiting to see what happens. What about the species that refuse to believe? We understand their choice, Mira said sadly. Change is frightening. Learning that everything you believed about yourself is incomplete can be very hard. But we cannot force anyone to remember, Sujin added. The choice must be made freely. What happens to those who choose not to remember? They will live their lives as they always have, Inho said. But when the reset comes, they will not be prepared for it. Veltar thought about his own people. The Nexari Empire had officially decided to work with the humans, but many individual Nexari were still angry and confused about the revelations. You said some people are ready to remember. What does that mean exactly? It means we can help them access the genetic memories they carry, Mira explained. Deep in the DNA of every intelligent species are stored fragments of ancient human knowledge and experience. We can help people unlock those memories. Is it dangerous? Not dangerous, but it can be overwhelming. Suddenly remembering millions of years of experience is not easy. We only do it with people who specifically ask for it. Have many people asked? More than we expected, Sujin said with a smile. Scientists mostly, but also artists, philosophers, and ordinary people who want to understand their true history. What do they learn when they remember? Mira's eyes became distant, as if she was looking at something far away. They learn what it was like to be part of a galactic civilization. They remembered traveling between stars as beings of pure consciousness. They remember the joy of creating new worlds and the sadness of watching civilizations rise and fall. But most importantly, Inho added, they remember love. The ancient humans did not scatter themselves across the galaxy because they were running away. They did it because they loved life so much that they were willing to sacrifice themselves to preserve it. Veltar was quiet for a moment. What about the reset? Do we know any more about what causes it? Sujin nodded grimly. We have learned more in the last 6 months than we did in the previous million years. Working together, the Council species have been able to detect signs that we missed before. What kind of signs? Energy patterns at the galactic center. Quantum fluctuations that happen every few million years. And something else. What? We are not alone in the universe, Mira said quietly. There are other galaxies out there with their own intelligent life. And some of them have been watching us, Veltar felt cold. Watching us for what? We think the reset is not a natural phenomenon, Inho explained. We think it is being caused deliberately by something outside our galaxy. Why would anyone want to destroy intelligent life? We do not know yet, but we are going to find out. Sujin leaned forward. That is why we need as many species as possible to work with us. The reset is not just coming for Earth or for any single species. It is coming for everyone. United, we might be strong enough to resist it. Divided, we will all die. How much time do we have? Our best calculations suggest less than 800 years, Mira said. That sounds like a long time, but it is not. We need to prepare the entire galaxy, unite dozens of species and solve a mystery that has puzzled us for millions of years. What can I do to help? Inho smiled. Continue doing what you have been doing. Help your people understand that we are not trying to conquer them or replace them. We want to work with them as equals. Even though you are much older and more advanced. Age does not make us better, Sujin said. Different experiences, different perspectives, different ways of thinking. These are what make us stronger together than we ever were apart. Your people have developed abilities that we never had when we were united, Mira added. Your gift for energy manipulation could be the key to stopping the reset. We need you as much as you need us. Veltar looked out at Earth again. It no longer looked like a young world to him. It looked like what it was, a monument to the greatest sacrifice in galactic history. What happens if we succeed? What happens if we stop the reset? Then for the first time in millions of years, intelligent life in our galaxy will have a future. Inho said, Our children will be able to grow and learn and explore without fear that everything will be destroyed. And if we fail? Then we will face the end together as a family, Mira said. That alone will be better than facing it apart. A soft tone sounded in the meeting room. Veltar's communication officer was calling. Captain, we are receiving a priority message from Nixari Prime. The Emperor wants to speak with you immediately. Veltar stood up. I have to take this. Thank you for coming. Before you go, Sujin said, would you like to see something? She reached into a bag and pulled out a small crystal, similar to the ones they had seen in Earth's deep archives. But this crystal was purple, like the formations on Nixari Prime. This contains some of your people's ancient memories. If you ever want to remember who you were before you became Nexari, hold this crystal and think about home. Veltar took the crystal. It felt warm in his hands, and for just a moment he thought he could hear distant voices singing in a language he did not recognize but somehow understood. We are all going home, Mira said softly. Some of us just remember the way better than others. As Veltar left the meeting room to answer his Emperor's call, he kept the crystal in his hand. Outside the window, Earth continued to turn slowly, a blue jewel in the darkness, waiting patiently for its scattered children to come home. The galaxy was changing. Old truths were being replaced by older truths. Ancient families were being reunited. And somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, something that had been content to wait and watch for millions of years was beginning to realize that this time might be different. This time, the children of humanity were not going to go quietly into the dark. This time, they were going to fight back. And for the first time in the long history of the cosmic cycle, the outcome was no longer certain.